afternoon. Thanks for joining us for this installment in our Small Business Spotlight series. My name is Bruce. I'm a business advisor here with the Small Business Development Center at Columbus State Community College. I had to think about that for a moment. It's been one of those days. So our guest today is Jasherrell Scott. She's the founder of So Human Apparel LLC. Jasherrell, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited.
Me too. It's always
so hello.
Yeah, great. I was getting a kick out of your brand. I love your energy and I love your message. So it's a pleasure to finally get to do this. I know we talked about doing this for a couple of months, so it was good that we got you on the calendar.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm pumped.
Let's start with just give us a little bit of information about So Human Apparel and your message, which I think is so important these days.
Sure. Yeah. So Human Apparel is an apparel brand that is the main premise is to bridge the gap between humans and humanity through apparel. The phrase on all of our shirts, for now, until I come up with something cool or new, is "I am so human." And basically that phrase is just reminding us that it's okay to be human. There's no need for us to be anything more than human or just try to exceed any expectations above that. If we do, that's great. But if you were to never do anything spectacular ever, that's completely fine. You are so human, and that alone is okay. And it also initiates the healing process for if there was ever any time where you believe that you were less than human, you're not. You are so human, and that alone is more than enough.
I agree. I think, and we've talked about this before about how important that message is, and we've lost that in the last 10, 15 years as social media has taken off, and we have many more opportunities to craft and express a personal brand, and it's the facade of perfection. So when that isn't actually what's happening, and we drive ourselves to be perfect, and we're not, and it's okay.
Yeah. And there's so much on social media. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh no, there's so much on social media also that just allows us to compare ourselves to what looks like perfection, because it's the highlight reel of so many people's lives when you have absolutely no idea what's really going on. But you compare yourself to what you see there in other people's lives, and then it just creates anxiety and creates all these expectations that we put on ourselves. That's just not necessary.
I agree. And I remind myself of your message periodically when I'm expecting more of myself than I really can be delivering at this particular moment. It's like, it's okay. It's all right. We all make mistakes. It's cool.
Yes. I love that. That is the goal of the brand. So that makes me very happy.
Good. And in many ways, it's kind of a broadening of the same message that women have been making for a long time, which is this notion of models is so unrealistic, and trying to be this perfect person is self-defeating. So I'm glad you're sharing that message. Thanks. Start with my little list of questions here. So how long have you been doing this? When did this idea occur to you, and when did you actually start a business doing it?
Oh, that's a good one. So I've been in business we launched June 19th of 2022. So a year and 4 months. It kind of dawned on me this entire process and this entire business in 2020. And throughout those years, I just kept saying this to myself, and it became kind of my mantra. Until one day I was like, this needs to be for everyone. And so, because when I said it to myself, just like you were saying, it kind of initiated a healing process. Okay, I'm striving to be so much more when I don't have to do that. And it kind of let me rest and allowed me to just look at myself for what I actually was, which was a human being, and just take steps towards healing and just creating a space where I could just exist and that be it. So throughout that process, I continued to say this phrase to myself, and I was like, well, people could probably use this. So let's make it for everybody. And then we just started the process. It took a while because of again, the other side of just not believing that, or just believing the lies of I can't do this. I'm not going to be able to, all these different things. And then we just kind of pressed past that. And that's when the entire vision came forth.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
In terms of your products, I know you have
Mhm.
a range of products, and I really,
Mhm.
it's interesting the approach you take, because some items are drop shipped, and then there are other items that you actually, you maintain that inventory and you handle your own
Mhm.
distribution. So can you talk a little bit
Mhm.
about, what products do you carry? And then
Mhm.
you can summarize, what kind of systems are you using to, acquire and distribute these products?
Yeah, so right now I have t-shirts, hoodies, hats, crew necks, and stickers. And when I started the business, I was in a very like work heavy job. Like the workload was huge. So I initially used a manufacturer online that was very highly recommended from other people that were in the like apparel industry, which was called Printful, and they drop ship like you were saying, directly to customers as soon as they put the order in, they get working on it, and then they send it out directly from there. I am looking to like pivot now that I have a little bit more time with the job that I have now, to a more local manufacturer that's just this kind of the same thing, but just more hands-on, more customization available, to make the packages, seem like they should, which is like from human to human rather than just like from a distribution place to with like just like a one bag, no note, you know what I mean, type of it. So that's kind of where we're moving to. And then stickers, I print those myself and send those out from home.
Nice. Yeah. And that human touch is really important, not just for your brand, but there are so many,
Yeah.
marketplace facilitators like
Mm-hmm.
Etsy and the like, that individuals
Right.
expect that personal touch. So uh,
Mm-hmm.
nice that you're looking for an opportunity to introduce that where it's expected and appropriate.
Yeah.
So nice touch.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so what motivates you and keeps you passionate about your business? And for you, I'm asking that question because, and this is a conversation we've had several times, how do you achieve balance in your life? You're motivated by your brand, but you do have a day gig, like we all do. We all have that job. So how do you keep yourself going?
Yeah. You know, it's not the easiest thing. It really is not. And I think, well, again, from our conversations, just realizing that that's normal for you not to always be motivated or, um, not always have that drive all the time, just because life is life and it happens. But the one thing that gets me back aligned or just back in place is just remembering my why and remembering the people who are on the other side of my yes and on the other side of my just like diligence and consistency. So that kind of keeps me going, and just reminding myself that there is a need for this. Like this is not in place, or I didn't put this in place for no reason, or just to have fun. Like there's an actual mission behind it. So I think that's super important to me, and that's what brings me back in line when I do lose that motivation.
Um, I think it's an important point to bring up, because we do hear this from clients frequently. They've been at
Mm,
it for a few years, and it's just, oh, I'm tired. I still love what I do, and I'm passionate, but I'm just tired, or it just doesn't
mhm.
have that spark, and that's completely normal. And we've talked about,
Yeah.
is this a time to regroup, and if so, what does that look like?
Mhm,
Is this a pivot moment? Are we questioning our
mhm,
motivation, our business objectives? So maybe it's a little,
mhm.
the universe's way of saying, hey, check yourself. What are we doing right now? So,
Yeah,
and
right.
completely healthy, being
Absolutely.
human. Yeah.
Yes.
um,
Mhm.
so, what do you like most about operating your own business?
Yeah, that's a question. Um,
It depends on the day, right?
right, exactly. That for sure. But I'd say the biggest thing is just the community that comes along with it. Um, Stepping into business, I definitely didn't expect like for so many people to be so supportive. Um, and the ones that are not even that close to you, it's not like it's like family members or anything, but just like through SBDC or through like chamber. There's like so many different ways to get connected to other entrepreneurs, and they're all so supportive. Like they're amazing. And so I did not expect that. And there's also people just like that you reach out to or connect with through social media, or just that they reach out to you because they have randomly heard about your business and they just want to support or do whatever they can to like push you forward. And it's just so super cool to see that like you're not alone, other people see you, you're heard, you know what I mean? And yeah, I just love that. I love that. And I love like also the reward of like, you know, when the brand hits someone, like even that, what you said earlier about like, I think about your brand regularly, like that is because I often call my brand the reminder, because that's what it's supposed to be. It's just remind yourself in those moments, like to take a breath. I am so human. Okay, let's start there. Let's stay there. I don't have to, you know, let's rest or let's just like pick ourselves back up. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
just things like that too, where you can see it working is just pretty darn awesome.
You're pretty darn awesome. Yeah. And I like that when we've talked early on, I think you had more of an emphasis on your pop-ups. So you actually had a physical presence, and you were commenting that sales were really good there. And
Mhm.
you know, for many small business owners, stepping outside their comfort zone is really difficult. So they will try to um, remain anonymous and stay behind a brand and do their business
Yeah.
solely online and expect that the sales will
Mhm.
happen. Whereas
Yeah.
you have observed getting out there and being visible and heard
Mhm.
is so beneficial.
Yes.
Somebody let in here. So what's your least favorite part about running a small business?
Um, I think I would say the ebbs and flows, like just like the fact that like it just has to go up and down. It just has to. Like you're gonna feel good some weeks, you're gonna feel bad other weeks. And just like for me, like that just I guess like instability or just you never know when that ebb is going to ebb or when that flow is going to flow, you know what I mean? Because every single one is just different and like I don't know, it's just that part's hard, because yeah, it's just I wish that it could feel great all the time but it just there's certain times when it just doesn't, and that's okay. But I think it's also I get nervous every time there's like a low point and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's like when I freak out, like what you were saying, like I freak out, like am I doing the right thing, like oh my goodness, like there's all these questions, but it's like no, this is just a normal, like give it a couple weeks, like it'll be fine, you know.
Mhm.
So um but in those moments you kind of freak out a little bit, so
Yeah,
yeah.
I hear you. And it's like, you know, trying to eat a bag of potato chips while you're riding a roller coaster, you know. Oh, you got stuff flying every place, and you know you don't know what to focus
Yes,
on, but you're still trying to focus
exactly
on
that.
you know having a snack, right? So, so what do you think is the most significant challenge facing small businesses today?
Today, I thought this through, and I honestly think like depending on what you're doing, like we've talked about this a little bit, just like the economy kind of right now. It's just like people are very, very conscious of what they're doing with their money, and which is great. That's really good. But it just makes it a little bit like harder. You can't just like post anything and expect sales. Like you can't like even with like your current strategy, you're going to have to like just mix it around or just redo it or just I don't know, get an expert in to like really drive home your mission, your brand, and connect with people, and be just super super intentional about how you are connecting with people in order to get to your goal. So I think that's been a little bit harder, especially for my business. um but yeah, I definitely think that plays a huge part right now.
Mhm. And there's so much of a mission behind what you're doing that doesn't necessitate the products, the actual purchases. So we
Mhm.
can take your message anywhere and we can live it. It can be
Mhm.
that reminder. We don't need the
Right.
hat. So it's like you say,
Yeah.
when you know, discretionary spending is being reduced because of economic conditions. You know,
Mhm.
you have to keep going. You have to keep sharing that message and doing what you're
Yep.
doing because, as you said
Mhm.
earlier, it's your why. So you know, getting
Yeah.
back to your why. So what do you wish that everybody knew about being a small business owner? You know, what do you wish you had known before you started So Human Apparel?
Mhm. I oh hello new person. I wish that yeah, that like people talked more about like one, the ebbs and the flows and just like the ups and downs that are so like they're just much more frequent than I expected. And then two, just the like like when I first started the business, I think I talked about this a little bit earlier. There was a lot of like fears that I had to overcome and just like honestly just block out and just go forward. And that kind of never ends. So like it's always going to be like, it's not like you chose to do the scary thing once and it's over. Like it's going to be the same thing over and over again with new products, with new, ideas, with new connections, all that. And just keep pressing forward and keep saying yes, even when it's consistently nerve-wracking. So that's one thing. That are two things that yeah, I wish. Oh, imposter syndrome. That's it right there. Yes.
Yeah, that April. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Thanks, April. Exactly
Um,
that.
yeah, you're right. And we don't know what we don't know. And I have to remind myself,
Right.
I don't know what I don't know. And clients, like yourself, come to us all the time and ask questions. And that is I don't know. And I didn't know. So then you have to go look. So like you say, every day is a new experience.
Yeah.
It's something that you don't know. And I think the value, and you do an excellent job of this, is going out and exploring, answering those questions, finding those resources. So
yeah, huge
if you haven't
self-awareness.
already, be proud of that.
Oh, thanks.
What do you think it takes to run a successful small business?
Successful small business. I just consistency. Like no matter what it looks like, I'm speaking to myself right now, but consistency is huge. Yeah, because a presence online, presence in person, and just that no matter what it feels like, let's get it done type of energy is what stays in front of people's face or keeps your brand in front of people's face, even when you feel like, even when you have your doubts, even when you have, your fears and everything, staying consistent will, I don't know, I feel like just help you to grow and yeah, just stay out there. And honestly, I feel like people say this all the time, but like consistency is what's gonna like help you when your motivation dies. Like, yeah, and it'll honestly bring you back to that motivation. Because one of those things throughout that consistent season where you're not really feeling motivated, but you're staying consistent. One of those moments are probably gonna like pick up, or you'll have great feedback from it or great engagement from it, and that is surely to reignite that motivation. Like, oh, this is working. This does work. So yeah.
And your audience expects that consistency.
Exactly.
And you're also, you're talking about, being self-disciplined and holding yourself accountable. And so often, we are accustomed to being employees, and our employer, our bosses, supervisors, they hold us accountable. So we often rely on that. So when you become a small business owner, you're everything, and you have to hold you accountable.
Yep.
So that takes a special leap.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like systems and like things to put in place, like time blocking and just all the small things that you kind of wouldn't really think of. Like, I don't know, just like make sure that those things like do the self-awareness check and like, all right, if I wake up or if I have to be at work at this time, when can I, you know what I mean? Just like maneuver that as fast as possible. And if there's a change in that, like just work around that and like really study that and make sure that your day-to-day plan and your day-to-day schedule is conducive to consistency. Do that as quick as possible. Yeah. I don't know.
The perfect segue. My next question is, what tools and resources do you use to help you be more effective, more efficient in your business?
Yeah. I use, well, just tools like software tools. I use Canva. That $12.99 a month, it does wonders. Yeah, they're just like unleashing all of their tools that they have in their system. That's great. Just Instagram and just like trending things like Pinterest, all that good stuff, just to see what's new, I guess this is like kind of pertaining to apparel, but just to see what's trending. And then also this is like very random, but just being outside of home and just like, I don't know, just being in a place, if I do time block, being in a place where I not necessarily super comfortable. Like if I'm in a library, I can't be like, I could turn on the TV right now and shut this laptop. You know what I mean? Like just like doing that, that's super helpful. And just taking advantage of like coffee shop space and just outside of your home. And another tool, of course, is just rest. I'm big on rest and taking time just to be. And so that's huge for me.
Yeah, good point. You can't take care of other people if you don't take care of yourself first. So we tend to overlook that. Oh, I can do it. I can do more. I can do more, until you can't. So,
Exactly.
so this is a good one for you. And this is what we tend to talk about quite often is marketing. So can you talk about your approach to marketing for your business?
My approach to marketing, you said?
You know, what's your approach? What tools do you use? What's your strategy?
Yeah. Kind of what we talked about a little bit earlier, just as far as like having a presence, me and myself, especially since I'm the sole owner of this business and I kind of do all the things. I think it's super important for me to get in front of the brand and just, I don't know, just exist and connect with people on a personal level. So that's the biggest thing is like, yeah, just making my presence known and telling the story in person and having a face to the brand. Yeah, that has the biggest effect. And then as far as like the strategy, I'm still working out my strategy right now because again, with the economy shifting and changing, we're still working that out right now. But sorry about that. But yeah, I think that the one thing that has stayed consistent and has kept engagement going is if I'm speaking to people, connecting with people, or just sharing my heart in a video or something like that. And that usually drives like sales as well. It's not just like as far as social media engagement and growth, but people connect with me and that connects to the apparel, and then that does it sells. So yeah, that's all I have for now, unfortunately. Sorry.
No, actually you're I think you're summarizing it. You're saying exactly what it is that you're doing. So much of what you do focuses on individual sales because you express your brand so well. So, and you talked about how well you do when you do pop-ups. So having that physical presence is really helpful. And then you and I also worked on social media. And what does that look like? Using the appropriate channels. And this is a problem we hear, not a problem, I'll say a challenge we hear across the board, which is developing that social media calendar, your content calendar for 6 months or a year out, and consistently producing that engaging content, which is it's tough. And you and I just talked about this week. So, and I want to share this with everybody so everybody knows it is not a problem that's unique to them. After you've done your 10 hours at your day gig, and then you get to come home and eat dinner, and then you get to start on your evening business, how do you, create that momentum and switch gears so that you can still produce that engaging, thoughtful content rather than just posting, here's a picture of my cat wearing my latest ball cap, something like that. So, and this thing gets into balance. How do you balance your time and your effort and feel fresh and engaged so that you can work on that? So can you talk about the challenges you're facing as you're working on the content calendar and creating that content?
Sure. There's a lot.
Your face said so much right there.
Yeah, because content is it's can be fun, but it's also like a lot. But I think just again with the time blocking, just like kind of what you said. And also I kind of keep my like business and ideas in my head and kind of dwell on those and kind of think about how I can best talk about that, or like how you said express just the mission of the brand. I hope I'm answering this correctly, but yeah, can you ask me one more time? I'm so sorry.
Just how do you keep creating engaging content when you're you're spread thin? You've got a demanding day job. Sometimes you work evenings and weekends, and then you have a business that you're running in the evening. So
and also yes, to answer that, I think we went over this, having those core values and kind of just splitting those up like week by week. Like this week we'll talk about this week we'll talk about that. And also kind of there's experts all over like social media, and so using some of their strategies as well to create content or to batch content, and then as far as recording and all that good stuff, just picking a sunny day or a day that's like a Saturday or something like that, where there's nothing else involved. I can just like be with, my business and really work on that really hard. That usually helps. And then I'm a morning girl for sure. So if I can knock out a few things in the morning, and then I don't have to think about it for the rest of the day, because one thing about me, I will talk myself out of it. Like if it's like, if I try to work on it in the evening, it's like, well, we can always do tomorrow. So I try to knock things out in the morning and just kind of, it's already done. We don't have to think about it anymore, and then move on to the rest of the day. And then if there's like one post that I want to make, or if I want to make, I don't know, like if I think through my calendar and I write it out like you were saying, then it's like, okay, I'll create this at 6 o'clock in the morning and then go on with the rest of my day, and just kind of time block that way, to knock out like just a small portion of that plan in the morning, and then keep doing that every single day. I hope this is answering it correctly. I'm kind of lost for words right now, but
I like that, because you're describing, creating that content or starting to flesh out those ideas when you are at your prime, when you're feeling, refreshed and ready to do that. For you is the morning. And then you can go through your day, which, so much of what most of us do during the day is rote. It's just a repetitive kind of thing. So I like that approach. Most of us do it the other way around. We're going to work on our business in the evening. So
I can't. When I clock out, I'm clocked out for the day. Now it's time to read. It's time to open up that Kindle and have a good time.
Right. Yes, you just bought a new Kindle, so we're both excited about that, even though I don't get to enjoy it. But and you've mentioned a couple of times core values and your mission. So can you, and this is like social media content and planning that is often a challenge for small businesses, for new businesses at least, because it forces them to think critically about what it is that they're doing and why they're doing it and where they plan to go. So can you talk a little bit about how core values and mission and vision statements work for you and how you use them?
Oh my goodness. It is so helpful. Oh my gosh. Just because like it helps with so many different things, whether it's creating a video or using a trending audio or talking to someone about your brand, just having that and having thought through that, it's kind of always in the back of your head and available for use. Especially like if you're like, you create a video and it's just like I don't know, so just a picture, but you can create a beautiful caption wrapped around one of those core values. And you can also, it's just super helpful. You can split up your core values, like I said, like week after week, just talking about one of those different things on social media. And then you're also just ready for a question like this one. Like, you know what I mean? Just like, just like it just makes like, and the more you repeat them and use them just to your advantage, the more you're like versed on them and can easily express them or recite them. So yeah, no matter like, or if you're like put on the spot for just like, what is your brand about? You know what I mean? Tell me about your brand. Then you can just like fire off because you've been working on them and you've been using them regularly and sharing them. So yeah, and it's also very helpful for like your clients, customers, to just know your heart and connect with that. So yeah, especially if you share it all the time and then they know you're really about that. Because there's one thing to have a mission, but to like actually live it and actually like, for it to be a part of you is very important. So yeah.
Good. Yeah, I like to think of them as kind of a foundation. If you have core values, mission and vision statement, everything else that your business does is built on top of those. I mean, anytime there's something new, like we were talking about, you are, there's a fear concerning this unknown, and you start venturing out and exploring it. And as you, work your way through it and resolve whatever that issue is, you can relate it back to those 3 items and say, this will fit in my business model. This works. This is an addition to, and not a liability.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. That's really good.
And then they're also good for keeping the business genuine. Big businesses, they have, millions of dollars to pump into research and to make, their messaging appear genuine and to engage us at a psychological level. Small businesses can't do that. They have to be genuine. They have to be engaging and meaningful. And ordinary people like me have to be able to relate to them. So
right.
Yours works because I'm like, oh, Jasherrell would point out that I'm human.
I would.
Yeah. So I typically ask about your favorite marketing tools. you said you use Canva. Do you use like Hootsuite or HubSpot or any of those platforms to help with publishing or scheduling?
Not at the moment. Not at the moment. I use them like their articles on like when's the best time to post or something like that. And just getting general information on trends and changes with Instagram and TikTok and all the stuff, which I'm still new to. But as far as scheduling, I haven't started scheduling things yet. Just because I heard that with certain apps, it can like affect your engagement, but we just need to test it out. But yeah.
Nice. I'm glad you said testing it out. Marketing, we like to do an A/B test. You know, you're running one item here, and you make a single tweak and you test it over here, so you can compare apples to apples. So that experimentation is so important. Because even while we like to take a scientific approach to marketing, we're still dealing with psychology and humans are anything if not unpredictable. So determining how they're going to react and what does and doesn't work, and tweaking as you go along. What you're doing for marketing today, as you know, a year ago isn't what you're doing for marketing now.
Correct.
A year ago, what you're not doing now. So, what platforms do you gravitate toward? Do you find you get the best engagement, and do you know why?
I currently am on Facebook and Instagram is home, honestly, right now. I do okay on Facebook, and I think the reason why like it's not as great as Instagram is because like everything from Instagram just shoots right over, and I think Facebook kind of recognizes when you're repurposing directly from like an Instagram post, and so that affects the engagement. But I mean, there's still some there and very like genuine people and authentic like followers and engagement from Facebook. But yeah, right now I've gravitated towards Instagram just because it's a little bit easier to use. And yeah, it's very user friendly as far as like video editing and just the algorithm and how to use the algorithm. It's kind of laid out right there. Or if not, then you can find like an Instagram expert and they'll tell you everything. So it's like it's super good. But I'm moving in addition to TikTok's coming soon. I have the account. I'm a little bit nervous to get started over there. I don't know why, but it's always been something that like I've needed to do, but I've just been a little bit afraid of. So that's another one of those things where it's like we're just gonna press forward anyway, slowly but surely. I have the account made. We just have to make a post now. So see what happens.
April says
April
same. TikTok makes her nervous.
April gets it.
I don't even think I have a TikTok account now. But then I'm older than you, so I know I can just stick with Facebook. So
you got to get on there and follow So Human Apparel, Bruce. Come on now.
Man, that was good. You get extra points for that plug there. That was great. Oh, that hurt. All right. So let's talk about funding. And I don't know that you and I have ever really had much of a conversation around that. So I'm going to guess that you were self-funded. So how did you handle funding your business startup?
Yeah. So I chose like the apparel t-shirt industry because it was quite cheap to start. And at the time, I was working in property management, which is a lot, but quite lucrative. So I was using pretty much just like my commission to fund the business and pour into it. But again, it honestly didn't take much. I mean, you set up like your business account and all that good stuff, and then Shopify, and then that's pretty much about it. And then you don't really have to take any inventory because everything's online, which is why the way I set it up on purpose, because again, I was working so much that I was like, if I have inventory and I have to make it myself, I don't know how this is going to go. So let me just let someone else do that part right now, and I'll work on the marketing portion, which is why I've also been talking so much about social media. So sorry if that's not what everyone wants to hear, but that's where my life is right now. So yes, the startup costs weren't very heavy, but I did do like a lot of trainings, courses, and get a few samples, like things like that. But that all came from just out of pocket, honestly.
That's really valuable insight. You're describing, educating yourself so that you're equipped to do what it is that you're planning to do, and then being strategic about how you enter your marketplace and how you create the infrastructure to support what it is that you're doing. So for your website, did you design your own website? Did you contract that out?
I did. I contracted it out, sorry. I usually,
Okay.
yeah. But I contracted it out through the website Fiverr or Fiverr,
Fiverr? Okay.
Fiverr. Yes, a freelancer there. And it was like $100 to have him create my entire website. Because I know if it was up to me, it would have probably taken me an entire year just to get that. And it's not even because it's difficult, but because I just like, if there's a lot of options, I'm going through every single one, trying to figure out it's just too much. So I was like, let me just have someone else do it so it can get done in a timely manner and we can get started. So I used Fiverr for that. And then kind of after he got finished with it, I just went in and just kind of enterprised it and just made it what I wanted from what he created. So yeah.
Nice. I've used Fiverr personally, and I liked it. I was happy with the services because if you're working with an established provider, they're very concerned about their reviews. So it works. So that's a really great option. What's my other point? And you're describing a team. So, even though you are a business of one, you do have other people that you're working with. And the SBDC, you and I connect periodically.
Yeah.
Your web designer. Anybody else on your team? A CPA, accountant, attorney.
Yeah, definitely. I have a trademark. Yeah, my trademark lawyers for sure. Great team of people. If you need a trademark, Stanley Law, that's the spot to go. And then just my support system, like 10 out of 10, like amazing. It's like every now and again I'll create some content, I'll just shoot it over to my best friend or to my sisters and I'm like, hey, does this make sense, is this funny? And you know what I mean, and little things like that really like help move the thing forward, and just get stuff out there instead of me holding on to it, questioning it. That's super helpful. Or like my support system is also like my focus group. So I'll take a design and be like, hey, what do you think about this? Do you guys like it? Would you wear this? Like, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's my support system is my team for sure.
Yes. So you got a nice little built-in focus group there, whether they want it or not.
Exactly.
Like you
have 24 hours to tell me your thoughts on this new shirt.
So operating budget, how do you manage your budget? Do you use software, Excel? Are you winging it?
I'm 100% winging it. 100% winging, just for now, until we it's being winged. And again, it'll probably start to like be more efficient once we pivot to this more local manufacturer and we start to get in the weeds of like, because now we can customize, like I said, our packaging and everything like that. So we'll probably have to look at that and see how that will affect profit margin and all that good stuff. But for now, things are just a little bit more docile, chill. And yeah, be honest.
So you're probably getting your sales numbers out of Shopify. So you see what that looks like. And then every business has its own dedicated bank account. So, you see what you're spending on, what's hitting the credit card and the checks. So you still have a sense of what your numbers look like. It's not
exactly.
blind.
But as far as like a plan going forward, we're working on that.
Yeah. And that's typical. Even businesses that have an established, 100-page business plan, ideally, it's an evolving document. So all business plans are constantly changing because the world isn't perfect and stable. Like you were talking about earlier, responding to the economy, responding to new products, new challenges, new messaging, new ideas that you're bringing to the business. It trickles down. It changes what you're doing. So
exactly. Yeah, and also just with me, like again, like with like I used to wing it because I could just like my 9-to-5 life was taken care of, and then the commission would take care of everything else. So like, but now I'm in a new position to where I don't necessarily have commission. So it's just I'm kind of in a transition when it comes to business, and that's why it's kind of like up in the air right now. But So yeah,
And
life
we
changes
talked about
too.
that, making that switch in a career change has been demanding because you're learning an entirely new industry, a new
Yeah.
systems, new people.
Mhm.
So kind of pulling your business along with you while you're doing all of this to sustain yourself.
Yeah.
That's not easy.
Yeah.
What
It's
is it they
not,
talk
and it's
about?
just like, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
But yeah, it's also that's why I mentioned like if your life changes, like figure out what that's going to look like for your business as well, and just start planning immediately, or just start to think it through immediately, just so that transition period doesn't really affect you how it affected me, which is like I'm still trying to wiggle around like what that looks like. And I'm in a business now that's like, or not a business, a position now. It's a little more I guess unconventional as far as hours go. Like it could be 12, it could be 5. You know what I mean? I could be at home, or I could be at the office all day. So, and it's just like just kind of trying to time block and make sure that those things are in, like those disciplines and consistencies are in place, or there's a backup plan for that if your schedule gets crazy. So yeah, that's kind of been the biggest thing. And then again, with the funds, I guess, from the commission of my last job, just trying to pivot and figure out how else we can just make things fund itself. So yeah, we're in a huge transition right now. And yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy.
And businesses are
But it's
always doing that. You're always
yeah,
evolving, becoming new, and growing.
right.
And we overlook those life changes. What do they say? Buying a house, getting married, divorced, a death, changing a job. That's big. And if you don't have a side gig, if you don't have a business that you're trying to run from your home, that's one thing. But when you do have, it's like having another child. How do you make sure that this child makes that transition and survives? So that's important. I like your observation, your recommendation that be deliberate. It's not just pulling it through. It's being conscious about how you're going to help it make that change, that shift.
Yes.
So very valuable. So we talked about budget here. We touched on software. So what does a normal day at the office look like for you?
Ooh, that's a great question. It's mostly meetings, anything from finance to, I work in ministry, creative project manager for our worship team here. Yeah, so it could be anything. I just stepped out of a finance meeting before this, and then it could be just a one-on-one. So it's mostly meeting-based days, but then there could also be days. It's just a normal day is not usually normal. It's just like every day is different. Like yesterday I was here until 6. Today I'll probably be here till like 3. I don't know. So, but it's just a lot of fun, and a lot of great people, and mostly meetings, and then stepping away sometimes just to knock a lot of the to-do list out to make up for the time that you were in that meeting, and then yeah, heading home probably, or getting ready for a worship night. It's very yeah.
Is there a typical day at the office for So Human Apparel?
Fridays. I usually work from home or from a coffee shop. I try to stay out of the house. I don't try to like work from home because again, I will close the laptop, I will open that Kindle. So yeah, I work from a coffee shop and then just kind of split the day, and do the first half because I work a half day from work, or a half day for this office, and then I'll use the rest of my time at the coffee shop for So Human Apparel things if I'm working on that, or if I have any needs for us.
How do you structure your work day for So Human Apparel?
Just based on the needs. So if there's like something I need to prepare for, like something like this, then I'll work on that. It's just like immediate things. Because if I do, when things are flowing more than they're ebbing, I will more than likely have content planned already and set up. So the Fridays, the bulk day will maybe be like, oh, we need to like order things for an upcoming pop-up shop, or we need to reach out to that manufacturer or get some ideas out there, like just let's dream, you know what I mean? So things like that would be a Friday thing rather than an everyday thing.
Okay, so you're like 6 a.m. or Saturday afternoons, right?
Right, exactly that.
Okay. How do you manage your customer relationships?
Ooh, that's a good question. They usually happen like through either in person or and through email or through like DMs or something. So there's it's still like a lower, it's I don't have too many like strong relationships just yet, like many, but I do have some. And yeah, it's usually like online because some people are not even from Ohio and they just saw my brand and loved it. And then there's some people that are just like see at church. So
Mhm.
but yeah, mostly through DMs. I'm just checking in, offering like, hey, just wanted to stop in. Thank you so much for being a follower, and just like engaging. Here's 10% off. You know what I mean? Or just wanted to say, hey, how are you doing? And just like making sure that I engage like with their stories, and with their page. I feel like that's huge and it builds rapport and lets them know that I'm like not just a human on my page, but I'm a human and a friend to you as well. So that's super important to me. And then just like if I do go to like networking or something like that and I get to share the heart of the brand with people and connect there, being intentional about the connections that I made and actually emailing them, talking to them, setting up a coffee with them, and just hearing, I don't know, hearing their stories and sharing ours and well mine and yeah, and just hopefully fostering a new relationship and some new community.
These are very personal relationships, so they're not in an entity base. They're not, I love Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Oh, we're So Human Apparel. I love Jasherrell. She's the best, right? Um, um, so do you you've never mentioned having any help, no employees, nobody doing anything for you. So I'm assuming at this point delegation isn't a challenge you're working with.
No.
No,
Yeah.
okay.
Hopefully one day.
Um,
I'm thinking about it, but
okay. And then we already talked about establishing balance. Do you have any recommendations for other business owners and how they go about balancing that personal and business life? Um, in your case, you've got two businesses. Your day gig, your business, and then you have you
yeah.
time. So how do you carve out time for you?
Yeah. Um, I kind of look at my schedule and see what's free and then just pick at least one day just to where, or one evening, even if it's not an entire day, just an evening or a morning where it's like I'm gonna get up and I'm just gonna move slow. Or I'm gonna come home and I'm gonna cut everything off. You know what I mean? And just like, but also like because there are times where, like I said, like I clock out, but my mind's not clocked out. And so like I'll not do anything, but I'll have trouble resting. And that is the worst. It's truly the worst because then it's just like you might as well just grab the laptop. Um, so if you think about it beforehand and you know that this is your evening or your morning or your day, and just be really intentional about it, prepare everything to be done, and then get to that day and just don't. And even if it's looking like it needs to be done, it'll be okay. Like just take that time for yourself, and just yeah, clock out 100%. So yeah, and prepare for it and really be intentional about it, because it really does work wonders. Go to bed early, just self-care it up.
Yeah,
It's so
and
important.
enjoy that new Kindle.
Enjoy that new Kindle, grab yourself a pumpkin spice latte, anything that makes you feel great, do it.
It's really valuable. You pointed out making sure that you can enjoy the time off, because taking the time off
Yeah.
and worrying about work you should have been doing or that needs to be done is of no value. You may as well
No
go ahead and
value.
do the work if you're not going to take the
Yeah,
time. So being deliberate
absolutely.
and creating a hard
Yeah.
stop for work is
Yeah.
helpful.
And it's like
Oh,
you're worth preparing for as well. Like, you know what I mean? Just like you prepare for meetings, just like you prepare for all these things, you're worth preparing for that. So make sure, like, yeah, you just take care of everything and then so that that time is for you. You're worth
that's a
it.
price. That's a priceless piece of information. Yes, you're right. I agree. So we've got 9 minutes here. Are you up to taking some questions from our audience?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, okay. Austin, I think he asked, said he may have a question. So if anybody has a question, you can either take yourself off mute, pose the question, or you can drop it into chat. Totally up to you. Okay, Khadija, she's oh, starting her own apparel brand, and
Love that for you.
yeah, thanks for sharing that. Okay, Austin says he does have a question. Austin? All right, well, while he's formulating his thought, so if you had it to do over again, what would you do different?
What would I do differently?
Yeah.
Hmm.
If you were thinking about starting a business, would you start the same business?
Yeah.
Would you start it differently? Would you do more planning, less planning? Would you have a different focus?
The focus would for sure stay the same. I think, yeah, I think I would have planned more financially, and like maybe even like just, I don't know, reach out to somebody that I know that works in finances. Just so I can like have a better understanding. I've always wanted to have a better understanding, but every time I look at the numbers, it's just like, what are we talking about? So just like having someone to help with that, and just making sure that we're on the right path. Things are going okay, but yeah, just making sure that I understand all of those things going forward would be super helpful. And even like keeping someone around to which I can still do, but keeping someone around for any shifts and changes, like, you know, the job and like the funds going into it. How can we make this still work without that extra income coming in? So things like that, just like to make sure that, you know, regardless of what happens, like financially, we're solid. So yeah, and less winging it.
Winging it. You know, financials are
For sure.
always a challenge.
Yeah.
I very rarely talk to a client who's like, oh yeah, I got financials down, you know, and their bookkeeping is all up to date and tidy, and they've got nice reports. And I like to, and I'm not a numbers person, so I will freely admit this. But I love if you have a solid bookkeeping system in place and you can produce at a minimum, you know, balance sheet, profit and loss, cash flow, they act as vital statistics for your business. So if we think about going to the hospital, you know, the first thing that they're going to do is take vitals as kind of, you know, a baseline, a first step in diagnosing and determining what kind of treatment is appropriate. So it works the same way for businesses, but it's common because it's not intuitive, and we aren't raised in that environment. You know, we know how to use Excel and balance a checkbook or write a check maybe, but more than that, like you say, it takes a lot, and you really have to just dig in and make yourself learn it. So, yeah, hear that all the time. Yeah, I hear you. So Austin says, what was the process of getting a trade? Was the process of getting a trademark quite easy? He's considering doing the same for his video production business. So talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That's a great question. It was relatively easy. I mean, the lawyers do the hard part. But yeah, you just kind of do what they tell you to do and complete their like exactly what you want. And they'll ask you and just make sure that like make sure this is what you want to trademark. Like we have like, you know what I mean? And just make sure that it's gonna work for your business. And then they kind of take it from there and just go with it. And you can check in every now and again, and they'll let you know what's going on and like if you run into any hiccups or where you're at in the process. It does take a very long time. Like I just got mine, and I put it in, I think, yeah, like over a year ago. So it takes a while, but the lawyers do the heavy lifting, and then you kind of just tell them what you need and ask any questions that you have, and check in from time to time, and then they'll do the same, like check in with you. Hey, here's what we need. Here's, you know, any additional fees that you have due to the work that we had to do for this hiccup or something like that. But it was pretty minimal. But if there are hiccups, there might be additional fees along with like the initial retainer and all that good stuff. But it's relatively easy. They do the hard stuff.
Just time consuming.
Yeah.
So for a lot of businesses, you know, they'll be concerned about, you know, protecting their trademark. And determining when is it strategic to go ahead and pursue registering a trademark with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. So can you talk about you know, what led you to make that decision, and how you ultimately made that decision?
For sure. it's kind of strange. I have there's like, I have a really, 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 really big pet peeve and fear of anyone taking my ideas. Since I was a kid, like, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie 13 Going on 30, when like at the very end, her like ex-friend or whatever takes her idea and like just runs with it and is super successful in it. Like that, I can't even watch that part of the movie. I can't. So like, I'm super protective of my ideas. Like, no, I came up with this. I want the credit for it. Yes. See, April gets it. I tell you what. Um, and so yeah, I can't deal with that. And so when I thought about it, that was one of the things that I was like fearful of. And I also thought it was very scary and very hard. But I was like, I would rather go through this process and just see how it is than someone take this dream of mine and do it only that what they can do with it, instead of me being able to nurture it for myself. So that's what led to the decision. It was like, it wasn't even a question, honestly. It was like, okay, we're gonna get the initial, like, start the business, and then boom, go to that lawyer's office. So yeah.
Okay. All right. So it was you were personally motivated. So you would feel
Yes.
better about what you were doing and building this business if you knew that it was
And just breathe.
yours. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a unique approach. Most businesses will wait until they've got some momentum, they've got the cash reserves and they can afford to go ahead and take that step.
Yeah.
But it's about you and what you needed to feel supported and comfortable investing in your
For
business.
sure.
So,
Yeah. And also, like, if you, because I started before, I started last year and I just got the trademark. So like, they will, if there is anything that like, pops up to where someone is trying to do the same thing as you, but they don't have a trademark, they will retroactively like cease and desist them, or, like, get rid of that, all the way back to when you initially applied. So you don't have to worry about that. As long as you just get in that office and put in that application, that's the date that your trademark will, be effective if it does go through.
Good to know. So is that what you meant when you were saying hiccups? Austin is asking, when you say hiccups, does that mean if the trademark is already taken?
No, so I think that so like I think they were like, that's one of the hiccups that they mentioned to me. Like, if they did run into any issues, they really didn't with mine. There were just like other tasks that they had to take care of for the office, like for the, like, I don't know the terminology they used, you guys, but for like the just trademark office and all that good stuff, and whoever dishes those out, the work for them is what like accrued more fees for me. But as far as like anyone else having that name or anything like that, no, didn't really run into that at all.
Excellent. Okay.
And also, just like, if you do it silently, that's better. Sorry, I've been learning a lot about these things because, again, I'm very passionate about a trademark. Thank you, Austin. Man. But yes, if you do it silently, that's better. Like, if you do see someone with your like same name and everything, just quietly going down to the trademark office and be like, hey, we need to do this. So, because if you make a big deal about it, then that creates competition and they can figure it out and they'll do it. But yeah. And then there's this like waiting period of like 30 days where anyone has to like object your trademark. So again, that's why I say keep it on the hush hush, so that like no one, jumps in there. It's like, hey, actually, I want to do this. No, don't do that. Don't give them a trademark. So sorry, I'm like not being very eloquent right now, but yes, basically, I don't know. That's all my tea on that.
Well, it's important when you have an idea. We value our ideas, so we don't want somebody taking them. So you
Yeah.
don't want to tip your hand if you can avoid it. Right?
Yeah.
April says she has a comment, not necessarily a question.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say, Josh, you're just a wonderful person. This was the first meeting that I have, been invited to by Bruce and Mike. Yesterday was my first class, the base class that I took, and just hearing someone else I'm not in your industry, but I am a business owner. Just hearing those struggles, it's so comforting. And also seeing another woman in business too. You have this great mindset. You're very positive, and I do love that about, how you're moving forward in your business. You're taking care of yourself. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. And one of the things that has helped me a lot in my business is that imposter syndrome. If you just look into that whenever you feel like you're not enough, give that just a quick glance, and I promise that that will definitely help you out of whatever rut you're in. Because like you guys had mentioned earlier, you're not going to have all the answers.
Yeah.
But it's really important to know that you are enough. And as long as you believe that you're going to achieve whatever goal you set your mind to, just you can take that and rest easy with knowing that. So thank you so much for your time. It's been so lovely getting to know you.
Likewise, you're awesome. April gets it.
Thanks, April. If
Thank
we
you
kept
so
going here,
much.
we have a little round table going on here. So our new online support group. And also, she has one more question. We'll take that question and then we'll wrap things up. I want to be respectful of Jasherrell's time because she is at lunch, right? Go ahead, Austin. Nope, Austin. Okay. She says, so right after you registered your name and opened your account, what did you do?
Do you mean like I got my LLC or? That is a great question. And to speak to, again, to struggles, I just sat on it. Like, honestly, like, I'm like, okay, I have this thing, but because how it happened is going to be super random story time. How it happened was I knew another entrepreneur at a, great, yes, lovely. I knew another entrepreneur that was actually a resident at the property management place that I was working at. And I was like, hey, I would love to just pick your brain and see how yeah, and I sat on it for like 3 months, so you're good. But and she said I just wanted to pick her brain about like entrepreneurship, how she got started, like all just basically this, but with her. And so she was like, yeah, just like when you're off work, just come over by my apartment since you work here, and we can just like talk it through. And so we set up a date, set up a time, and then I went over and she helped me get my LLC. And I was like, I honestly came to just talk to you, but now I have a business, so like now what? And so so yeah, I was kind of just like thrust into it, and so I just like, but I was excited that like she kind of pushed me to make that step, because otherwise, again, I was still I would don't know if I would have. But then I mustered up the courage over like time, and just pressed like through doubts. And I'm not saying that like doubts went away or like I just like waited until they were gone. Like no, like they were actively like I actively had the doubts. And I said, well, I'm just gonna keep moving forward anyway. Exactly. I just like not even, yeah, I just moved forward in the middle of them. And we're just like, I'm gonna make that call. I'm gonna schedule this photo shoot. I'm gonna keep designing regardless of what I feel like. I'm just gonna keep going. And so there were, again, it took some time. There were ups and downs. There were days that were like, oh, I can do this, and even though I feel this way. And then there were days where like there's no possible way. So it took some time, but yeah, then from there I just kind of set an actual date. That was another thing. When do you want to launch? Let's get the date on there, because if I have a date and a deadline, more than likely I'm going to hit it. I'm not going to say I'm more than, not 100%, but more than likely I will hit that deadline. So I set a date, and then it was a lot easier once the date was set to actually work towards what I wanted to accomplish by that date. And again, once you like just press through those doubts, then your Instagram's up and running, and then everyone's following it. So now it's kind of like you can't listen to the doubts anymore, because now you have people following your account and they're expecting you to do something on that launch date. So kind of like creating your own accountability too is pretty good. So yeah, so I slowly but surely work towards that goal, because I got my LLC in October, and I did not launch until June of the next year. So yeah.
So Thank you for sharing that. And then I do want to point out that you originally reached out to us a couple of years ago for our Profit Mastery course that was part of the pandemic relief funding that came down from the federal government. And then you completed Base and BizStart with us. So you've worked your way through our startup series. So, and then you just kept right on going. So it was definitely a springboard for you.
Yes.
And again,
yes.
talking about your network, there's people around you who are helping you take those little steps and get you where you want to go. So it is 6 after. We've taken up an additional 6 minutes of your time. But thank you. I really enjoyed talking with you. Thanks for taking time out of your day. I know you are so busy.
Yeah, but
so,
it's fine. I love this.
If you're interested, you're watching this video on the recorded version, we have an complete library of additional small business spotlights where we've met with other business owners. So feel free to dig into those. They're all really excellent programs. We also have a small business breakthrough series, which is very similar, but we meet with consultants and advisors for businesses. So you get somebody else's perspective about what's involved in starting and running a successful small business. So if you're looking for information, you can check our YouTube channel, or you can reach out to me, vwalters@cscc.edu, and I will be happy to share that information with you. And if you would like, don't hesitate to visit sohumanapparel.com and check out Jasherrell's line of products. Follow her on Facebook and Instagram, and very shortly on TikTok, so you can stay up to date with all of the great things that she's doing. And with that, Jasherrell, thanks again for being here. I really appreciate this.
Of course. Yes, this was a blast. Thanks to everybody that's in the chat and asking questions, and I'm glad I could help in any way I could. Sorry, I fumbled on my words a few times, but I hope it was helpful.
Yeah, it was excellent. And April, Austin, thanks for your questions. It was really appreciated. Everyone, thanks for being here, and you have a great afternoon.
See ya.